Deep dive time. We've got quite the collection of sources here, all pointing towards, well, a massive shift in thinking, the Copernican revolution.
Yeah, it's fascinating. For, gosh, centuries, the universe felt pretty logical, didn't it?
Yeah.
Based on what you see every day. Philosophy from Aristotle, even
The
theology.
Earth was just parked right in the middle, unmoving.
Exactly. Sun, moon, stars, planets, everything seemed to circle us. That was the established picture, the medieval view, basically.
And you can see why it's stuck around. I mean, you stand here, look up. Everything appears to go around you. Why would you think otherwise?
Right. It wasn't just astronomy either. It was tied into physics, theology. Humanity was sort of center stage in this cosmic play.
So, questioning Earth's position wasn't just a scientific quibble, it was deeper.
Oh, absolutely. It meant questioning the whole structure of reality as they understood it.
But then, 16th century, Nicholas Copernicus floats this completely radical idea. Maybe, just maybe, the sun's the center. So our mission here, using these sources, is to unpack why that was so explosive, the resistance, the evidence that eventually won out, and, well, the huge impact it had. We're digging into the core insights from this cosmic shakeup.
Okay, let's look at that Earth-centered view first. Ptolemy. Claudius Ptolemy, he was key. Built on earlier ideas, made this really detailed mathematical model.
Earth fixed. Everything else, moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, moving around it, perfect circles nested in these sort of crystal spheres.
That's the one. And, it actually worked surprisingly well for predicting where planets would appear. Mostly.
Mostly. What was the catch?
The catch was retrograde motion. Planets sometimes look like they stop, loop backward for a bit, then carry on. Kind of weird.
Right, I remember that. How did they explain that if everything's going in nice circles around Earth?
Well, Ptolemy had to add these things called epicycles. Think of them like little wheels turning on the main orbital paths, wheels within wheels.
Wow, okay, so it got complicated fast.
It did. More tweaks needed over time. The sources mention this kind of growing complexity, maybe lacking a certain elegance or harmony you'd want.
But it predicted things, felt intuitive because Earth feels stable, and the physics of the time said a heavy Earth couldn't possibly move. So it reigned for, what, 1,400 years?
Over 1,400 years, yeah. And it's worth saying the sun-centered idea wasn't totally brand new. Aristarchus, an ancient Greek, suggested it way back.
But it didn't catch on then.
Nope. Widely dismissed. It just seemed to fly in the face of common sense and Aristotle's physics.
Until Copernicus. His book, De Revolutionibus, published right as he died, wasn't it?
That's right. He put the sun squarely in the middle. And the beauty of his heliocentric model was this qualitative simplicity.
How so?
Well, that tricky retrograde motion. Copernicus explained it naturally. It just happens because Earth is also orbiting the sun, overtaking slower outer planets or being overtaken by faster inner ones. Much simpler.
Elegant. But acceptance, that was slow. Painful, even.
Agonizingly slow. Because, well, think about it. If Earth is zooming through space, why don't we feel it? Why aren't we all flung off? It contradicted the physics everyone knew.
And there was a big scientific objection too, right? Stellar parallax.
Exactly. If Earth moves, nearby stars should seem to shift position against distant background stars over the year, but nobody would see it.
Why not?
The stars are just so incredibly far away, the shift is minuscule. Their instruments weren't precise enough yet. So even brilliant observers like Tycho Brahe, who had the best data, couldn't accept Copernicus fully. He proposed his own hybrid model.
So Copernicus had the elegant idea, but the killer proof was still missing, which brings us to Galileo and Kepler using Tycho's data.
Right. Kepler was crucial. He used Tycho's super-accurate measurements to show planets don't orbit in perfect circles, but in ellipses. That refined Copernicus's model made the math match reality even better.
And then Galileo points his telescope up. Game changer.
Huge game changer. He saw mountains on the moon heavens weren't perfect. He saw moons orbiting Jupiter. Clear proof not everything orbited Earth.
And the big one, Venus.
The phases of Venus. He saw Venus go through a full set of phases, just like our moon. That only makes sense if Venus orbits the sun, not the Earth. The sources really highlight this as direct, powerful evidence supporting Copernicus.
But that evidence put him right in the crosshairs of the church, didn't it?
It absolutely did. The church saw the geocentric view as lining up with Scripture. Heliocentrism got labeled formally heretical. Galileo faced trial, house arrest. It's a stark reminder of the conflict when new science challenges established authority.
But the evidence just kept mounting. Galileo, Kepler.
But the why was still missing. Why do planets move like that? That's where Newton comes in.
Isaac Newton, universal gravitation.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Newton's laws explain why planets move in ellipses, as Kepler described. It wasn't just observing, it was the underlying physical reason. And crucially, it unified physics. The same force pulling an apple down holds the moon and the planets in orbit.
So that completed the picture. The framework was finally there.
It really solidified the whole heliocentric view.
So looking back, this whole journey, the sources call it a classic paradigm shift, right?
Definitely. The old Earth-centered model got bogged down with fixes like epicycles for anomalies. The new sun-centered one was simpler, more elegant, and eventually backed by overwhelming evidence and a fundamental physical law from Newton.
A revolution that, well, it didn't just change astronomy charts, it challenged deep beliefs, caused major conflict.
And fundamentally shifted how humanity saw itself. Not the center of everything, but on a planet orbiting a star. A big shift in perspective.
And it really cemented the scientific method, didn't it? Questioning the obvious, demanding evidence, relying on observation and experiment.
Absolutely. It shows the power of following the evidence, even when it completely contradicts what your own senses seem to be telling you every single day.
Yeah, that's profound. I mean, think how hard it was to accept that this solid ground we're on is actually moving incredibly fast. Makes you wonder, what other things that seem totally obvious to us now might turn out to be wrong when we get more evidence, or figure out how to see things differently?
That's a really interesting thought to end on. What assumptions are we making now based on incomplete observation?